Hey there, this is Mr. Icarus, and welcome to yet another edition of Doom Mod Madness. This time round, we're checking out the surprisingly difficult SUPERDOOM. So what exactly is SUPERDOOM? Well, it's a mod that seeks to recreate the style and gameplay of SUPERHOT within Doom. And if you've never played SUPERHOT before, it's a game where the central gimmick revolves around time only moving when you move. You have to exploit this ability to arm yourself and then ultimately defeat any enemies in that particular level. When it comes down to how well this mod recreates the visual style of SUPERHOT, I've got to say it pulls it off pretty damn well. The monochrome visuals here matching up rather nicely with those of the original. The minimalism is definitely something that makes it easier to recreate, I think. Enemies are in red, much like those of the original game, and the bullet trails coming off the projectiles here are also rather nice to see whizzing past too. When it comes to replicating the gameplay of SUPERHOT, however, that's where things, I imagine, get a hell of a lot trickier within Doom. For one, I don't think I've ever seen any other gameplay mod do this particular slow-mo effect before, so that alone is supremely impressive to me. Another thing achieved here that I greatly enjoy is throwing my weapon at enemies in order to take them out, which is another thing that was a feature of SUPERHOT. Granted, in the full SUPERHOT game you could do that with other things such as mugs, baseball bats, there was a katana at some point as well, but I imagine implementing all of that stuff would be an undertaking in of itself. So at the moment, with what we've got, I'd say this matches up very well to perhaps the original tech demo of SUPERHOT. Another admirably translated aspect of SUPERHOT here in SUPERDOOM is the puzzle-like nature of the levels that you'll be fighting through. Mercifully, the levels here are actually quite short, and I say mercifully because you'll actually be spending quite a lot of time in some cases just trying to find the most optimal path between all of the bullets headed your way and the points where you can adequately return fire against your enemies. In that regard, much like SUPERHOT itself, situational awareness is certainly a skill that you will need to develop here. It's not just about the bullets heading from the front, you've got to consider the bullets heading at you from every other angle. And it's in that regard that I feel like SUPERDOOM is a little too overzealous with the return fire from your enemies here. It's certainly something that makes the difficulty curve of this mod resemble something more like a cliff face than anything else, and you get the impression that it's more luck that's getting you through these encounters than skill. So yeah, I feel like this is a mod that could still do with a few tweaks here and there, especially in regards to the core gameplay, especially if it wants to move from feeling like a more frustrating challenge than anything to something a lot more meaty and satisfying. And in that regard, I feel like the projectile speed here could stand to be lowered a hell of a lot more. Compared to its inspiration, this is just downright speedy. When you're not moving in SUPERHOT, the movement of anything else is barely perceptible at all. It gives you a hell of a lot more time to think and consider your next move. But here, in levels such as this, it's simply a luxury that you don't have access to. In terms of other things that could be tweaked to mitigate frustration, I feel like level design and enemy placement could certainly be worked on a little bit. This level in particular is quite possibly one of the most headache-inducing of the bunch, just because of this opening bottleneck right here. It certainly reinforces the feeling that this is more luck-based than skill-based, because all you can really do is just keep throwing yourself at it until an opportunity appears. There's just too many enemies, there's just too many projectiles, it just feels like one great big giant fuck you in the form of a level. Now some of you may say, but Icarus, surely that will make you feel all the more satisfied for having endured and completing such a level, but I've got to say, after many attempts at cracking this, the only thing I felt at the end of this level was relief. Relief that I never had to play through it ever again. Thankfully, there is a small reward for completing that level, and that is the ability to fight against the Cyberdemon in the final level of SUPERDOOM, which is a pretty fun fight. It's actually quite possibly one of the easiest fights in the entire mod, but still, it's a nice idea all the same. Basically, much like a regular Cyberdemon fight, given enough room, all you need to do is circle strafe and shoot it till it dies. But yeah, that's SUPERDOOM for you. A very impressive recreation of SUPERHOT's gameplay and style within Doom. Granted, it's not without its frustrations, but these are things that can be ironed out in successive iterations, because after all, this is still only in beta. In any case, if you fancy checking it out yourself, the link is as usual in the description below, and hopefully you've enjoyed watching this video. Feel free to let me know what you thought in the comments, and feel free to suggest any mod you'd like to see me cover in future episodes of Doom Mod Madness. This has been Mr. Icarus. Thank you very much for watching. Icarus out.